Ladies and gentlemen, it's the one and only Mr. Controversy representing the 3 point conversion presents Making the Cut. This is my NFL diary. Welcome back. So, week 3, once again, it was a lot of nail biters. You had close games, great games. Games went down to the end. Surprise wins, players stepped up, players stepped back. But of course, without further ado, I have to start out with my Chicago Bears. If it was some way, I don't know how, because of course I'm not missing a game, but some way, somehow, if I had to miss a game, I guess because of emergency, because that's the only way I would miss a game. But if it was some way I missed a game and you told me that Forte only rushed for 33 yards, Brandon Marshall had one catch for 6 yards, Cutler barely threw over 200. I don't even think he threw over 200. If he did, he barely did. And we won the game on the road. Yeah, I probably think you were joking. But what I like about my Bears is the fact that you have people stepping up as far as Martellus Bennett. You know you have your certain tight ends, like your hybrid tight ends, and Jimmy Graham, Julius Thomas. You know, you have people like Witten, who's a throwback tight end. But what I like about Martellus Bennett is he can block, which he doesn't get that much credit for. But he's a typical tight end. I mean, he has nice speed, but he's a tight end. He's going to run in the middle of the field, catch the ball, run people over, get extra yards. I love that about Martellus Bennett. And I don't think he gets enough credit, but he will. Just watch and see. Then people like Alshon stepping up. Of course, we expect that. But the defense, the way the defense stepped up, and how they played the bend but don't break defense. I mean, Jets kept driving, but they couldn't score. They couldn't get the touchdown. So, Kyle Fuller, is he a star in the making or what? Or should I say, is he a star, period? And back in preseason or even training camp, you kept hearing a lot of chatter as far as Alshon talking about how, man, this dude is going to be great. Brandon Marshall, this guy's going to be great. Peanut Tillman, this guy's going to be great. Usually when you hear that, you think about players like Randy Moss. I remember they were saying that about Derek Thomas when he first came into the league. Calvin Johnson, players like that. Brandon Marshall, they were saying that in Denver. Where it's like, were they telling the media, hey, watch out for this kid. This kid is going to be great. And sure enough, they come out great. Watch out for Kyle Fuller. This dude, he has a knack for the ball. I mean, great technique. He's still young, so he might make a few mistakes, but I'm telling you, watch out for him. Now, of course, let's go to Mr. Controversy's counterfeit teams of week 3. Well, we'll say for the season, going into week 4. So, I always pick on the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm not even calling them a counterfeit team just because I think they're in trouble. I mean, I think they blew past the counterfeit road. Now they on the we're in trouble because they can't score any points in the fourth quarter. But for some reason, I just felt like somewhere in the end, they're still going to be close and, they might get in. They might get in. But Mr. Controversy's counterfeit teams. Let's start with the New Orleans Saints. Counterfeit team. Now, everybody picked the Saints to be Super Bowl champs. Of course, you have Drew Brees. As long as you have Drew Brees and you have 4 guys that can play wide receiver, whether they're great, good, or horrible, you have a chance. Especially when you have Sean Payton calling the plays. But as you see with the defense, they're looking horrible. And last week, they struggled against a Adrian Peterson-less team. The Minnesota Vikings, without Adrian Peterson, in New Orleans. That's supposed to be a blowout, folks. But New Orleans Saints struggled. They struggled. I mean, they scored 20 points, 24. I forgot what the score was. It's not even irrelevant. It's not even relevant, I should say, because the fact that Minnesota was in the game during the whole game. Then their backup came in. The defensive line supposed to be licking their chops. That's 6 sacks right there. But sure enough, they struggled. Counterfeit. Then I go to the Carolina Panthers. Counterfeit. They don't have enough offense. As great as that defense is, as you've seen Sunday, they don't have enough offense. And if they don't get any more players, yeah, they missed Jericho Cotchery, but come on, he's. I mean, if he's watching, you my dog, but this is what I do. I'm a fan, so you know I got to be real. He's garbage. Then, you missed D'Angelo Williams, which was a big loss. But now you just lose Tolbert for the season. If you didn't know that, yeah, that's what happened. He's out for the season. So I don't think Carolina's going to be able to contain teams, that long when they can't score. So I really believe that Carolina won't make the playoffs. You heard it here. They will not make the playoffs. Why? Counterfeit. And when I say counterfeit people, I mean teams that look good, that you thought were good, but really they're not that good. My last counterfeit team. No hate, but the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers is 1-2. And it's not the fact that they're 1-2, because if you're 1-1, either you're going to lose one or you're going to win. So it's really not that big of a deal to go 1-2. It's only week 3. But it's how they're losing. First game, they play Seattle. Okay. I mean, you get manhandled. I mean, what do we expect? Game 2, they struggled against the Jets at home. They had to come back to win that game. And because of a stupid, dumb, idiotic timeout by the assistant coach, that cost the Jets a game, which made Green Bay winners for that game. Then you go to Detroit. And when I say Detroit only scored 1 offensive touchdown late in the 4th quarter, that's it. And you lose to the Detroit Lions, no defense, which they play great, but they don't have any defense. They don't have no defense. No defense. And you're Aaron Rodgers. And you have so-called Eddie Lacy. And you only score 1 touchdown? That's it? Counterfeit. Now, I'm about to ruffle some feathers right here. And we're going to talk about what I call gimmick receivers. And when I say gimmick, I don't mean as far as they're gimmick. They're no good. When I say gimmick, I mean you have to run gimmick plays for them. And watching the Sunday night game with Antonio Brown, I mean, he's a beast. He gets the ball in his hands. It's a wrap. You can't stop him. But the reason why I call him a gimmick receiver is because you have to get it to him in short screens or, a quick pass right there. Could he play in another system? Could he be in the 49ers system? Could he play for the Chicago Bears system? Or could he play in Green Bay system? Well, he probably could, because they have a gimmick receiver in Randall Cobb. And again, I'm not saying they're not football players. They're not great football players, but they're not what you would call a typical receiver. Even though Antonio Brown get over 100 catches a season, like I said, if you're getting 4 or 5 of them catches, as far as getting screen passes thrown to you, then that means you have to find a way to get them the ball, because either they're not great route runners or all they can do is run crossing routes, post, and that's it. So I look at players like Percy Harvin. He's a gimmick receiver. I call him that, because you have to find a way to give him the ball. But once they get the ball, like I said, they're a beast. But he's not running regular routes. Randall Cobb, I mentioned. He's not running regular routes. The only small receiver I know who's a receiver that can fit into that gimmick receiver, but yet still run great routes, is your man Deshaun Jackson. Great route runner. Well, I wouldn't say great route runner, but he's a good route runner, and he can beat you many ways, not just screen passes, but he runs routes. So again, this is Mr. Controversy. This is my NFL diary. Of course, I couldn't be Mr. Controversy if I wasn't controversial. So you know how I do. Check me out on Twitter at Mr. Controversy 21. Check us out on the 3-Point Conversion page on YouTube. And continue to follow us on the Sports Battle YouTube page. I'm out.